Hey guys, welcome back to Community Starcraft 2. I just casted a really cool game, so if you're watching this video, I recommend that you actually stop watching and go look up a cast that I did between Hong and Prime and Punisher. It was a PvT, really cool game that I just casted, so you'll really be missing out if you're a fan of Starcraft at all. So definitely go check that game out if you haven't already. But this particular game is going to be game 1 out of a best of 5 from the ASUS ROG Invitational. At least I'm pretty sure that's what it was called. But anyway, it was a tournament that kind of flew over the radar, or rather under the radar. They held in Finland, I want to say. It was a really smaller tournament, but a lot of really big names there. But yeah, so this is going to be a match between Liquid Ret, who is our blue Zerg, and WhiteRa, who is our who is our red Protoss, and WhiteRa scouting quite early. Going to immediately the cross position, he's going to see exactly what Ret is doing. And Ret is known to be a very drone-heavy player, so I would not actually be surprised to see Ret just hatch first here, but we'll see how greedy he's feeling today. And it looks like he's actually just going to take his pool, so never mind. It's going to be a 14 pool and just a hatch whenever he can afford it. WhiteRa trying to do a little bit of harassment here with his probe, but he doesn't actually get too much done. He is poking that drone just a little bit, causing him a little bit of trouble. But I actually think that he scouted here because this is a... They kind of treat this as a two-player map nowadays, so that you can only spawn on cross positions. But yeah, a little more about this tournament as WhiteRa is Forge expanding. This was a really small tournament that was put together as an only invitational, which, excuse me, I just pressed the wrong button. Whoops. It was an invitational tournament only, and there were some really cool names here like Idra, Select. Obviously these two guys were there. Elfie was there, who was, I think, the only player from the country that this was actually held in, which again, I do believe was Finland, and if I'm wrong, then I sound like a complete idiot, and you'll have to excuse my ignorance, but WhiteRa did throw down a pylon here at Ret's natural. We'll be blocking that off. And like I said, this is a best of 5. And I love best of 5 formats because I just don't think best of 3s really bring out who the best player is among the two. So 5 games really gives you an opportunity to have to vary up your builds. It allows for more progression in terms of the mental game. Here's Ret poking down this pylon here. So I really like this format, and this will be a best of 5 series. So first player to win 3 games is going to go ahead and take this. And of course this tournament has already resumed, and for those of you that do not know the results, you can always go look them up if you really want to know who won the whole tournament. But I will just be casting this one series from it as we get geared up for MLG Providence this weekend, which should be outstanding. So if you're watching this and MLG is just about to start, then I highly recommend you cancel all your weekend plans and watch that, because that should be a really cool event. I really think it's going to be like the best StarCraft 2 event we've ever had. So check that out. But we'll get into this game, and I'll stop talking about everything else that's going on. Ret is taking 2 hatcheries immediately. So you can see there's one at his natural and one at his third. And this third hatchery went down at about 4 minutes. So really, really early. So Ret does see that WhiteRa has just gone for a quick expand, and that is a Forge expand nonetheless. Cybernetics Core is going to leave. Actually, that's not enough space. There's actually a small hole here that Zerglings can get through. But it's not as if Ret is going to be too aggressive about this. He does have 3 Zerglings, but the cannon should be able to kill 2 by the time they all run by. And yeah, he just goes ahead and loses 1 and then runs back. But yeah, we'll see what's going on. WhiteRa has not transferred any drones. Or these are actually probes. He does not control drones. But the point being is that he has not transferred any, which is kind of unusual. Meanwhile, Ret is actually on 2 gases, so this is a little strange out of Ret. He's definitely a huge macro player. He has not taken his gas, or excuse me, has not taken his speed yet because he's not mined enough gas yet. But 2 gas right away really indicates some fast roach pressure, so we'll see if that's what he decides to follow this up with. He's not known for being a really pressure-oriented player. He likes getting all of his drones at all 3 of his bases before he starts to do anything, so maybe he's just doing this knowing what WhiteRa typically expects. And here comes 14 Zerglings out. This could also actually be a Baneling play, so we'll see if a Baneling's Nest is going to follow this up. It wouldn't surprise me, but no, there goes the lair. So I doubt that a Baneling's Nest is going to follow this up, but we'll see what's actually going to happen. WhiteRa stopping probes for just a second here. He's going to grab a second gateway, as we can see. He may actually even grab a third once he has some minerals. He actually has them now. He's not spending all of his minerals perfectly, as fairly unusual for WhiteRa. He's usually really good about that kind of stuff. But here comes the Zerglings running across the map. The Zealot is definitely going to see it, and this Zealot may actually get caught. No, Rhett just stops his Zerglings. So WhiteRa knows there's a lot of shenanigans going off, because this is a high number of Zerglings for this time in the game. Zerglings are not going to break this down, so I'm surprised we're not seeing a Baneling's Nest or a Roach Warren or anything following this up, especially on 2 gases, because he has quite a bit of gas saved up right now, 250 gas. So we'll see if he just decides to go for something different, like a really fast Spire, for example. But if he was going to do that, he needed to take his gases immediately. He does take 1 extra one, but no more. So I'm not really sure where Rhett wants to go. Here's that Roach Warren we were thinking about, but there's still a lot of gas stored up. I think that's a little late, but I don't know. Rhett poking up here once again to see what's going on. You can see a dead Zergling here on the ramp. So he did lose 1 more to that cannon, which, yeah, it actually does keep track of kills. I've never checked that before. But, yeah, WhiteRa just macroing up here. He's now rallying stuff to his second base. And if you actually see this, I should give you guys a little bit of a tip here. If you ever see people that are super high level like this, and they are rallying both of their Nexuses to their second base, or their command centers or whatever, rather than transferring out workers, it typically means that they want a more steady income in the early game, which can oftentimes point to a 2-base all-in. And here's Rhett just running right past that Zealot, getting inside the base. He's going to see everything, and he should actually experience a few probe losses. No probes lost. Okay, there goes 1. But a Zealot warp in here does save the day. He does have to run back around and cut these Zerglings off. So the Zerglings are trying to kill as many probes as possible. They shouldn't get too many, because these 2 Zealots will hold them off quite well, especially since WhiteRa does have +1 attack done, which kills Zerglings in 2 hits instead of 3. But this one Zealot, I'm surprised he just didn't get surrounded right there, because that's an easy kill. More Zerglings trying to come over here and kill more probes, but it's focusing WhiteRa's attention more so on staying inside of his base. And like we thought, there's a Spire coming down here out of red. And look at WhiteRa actually block these Zerglings in and make them say, okay, this is a one-way trip, man. You can't get out of this. But I'm surprised that Rhett is actually spending gas on roaches after doing that play right there, and not spending gas, or rather not saving all of his gas for mutas. So here's a typical trademark WhiteRa thing to do. Warp Prism is coming out right now for him, so he's going to start the Warp Prism harassment, which has gotten a lot more popular, but at least you can say WhiteRa has done it since day 1. So he's been ahead of the metagame for a long time. The Spire's now finishing up. Rhett has enough for about 9 mutas right off the bat, so we'll see how many he decides to produce. And 9 this quickly is really good. It's going to keep the Protoss player in his base for a long time. But WhiteRa's actually taking a really aggressive 3rd, starting to wall off his 3rd ramp here, which I don't see enough lower level Protoss players doing. But WhiteRa does load up just 4 Zealots in there. That's really trademark stuff out of him. He likes to just drop them instead of start warping them in. So he'll go ahead and start the harassment there. We'll keep our eye on that. The number of mutas has now gone up to 12, as Red is just getting mutas as his gas allows. And on this map in particular, mutas can be extremely hard to deal with. And this is something I don't see addressed in nearly enough pro broadcasts, or at least big tournament broadcasts like MLG or GSL or whatever. But the problem with this, for Protoss in particular on this map, is that the walking distance from here to here is humongous, but the flying distance is just right there. So harassment can be brutal on this map. As we can see, the mutas coming in here killing a lot of probes. I think 4 or 5 probes have already gone down in addition to the couple that the Zerglings picked off. These mutas are going to run wild inside the base here. WhiteRa has to try and recover to this with only a few Stalkers. These mutas could actually take those Stalkers straight up, but Rhett's going to be a little more careful. Here comes the Warp End to definitely turn the tides here. So he's playing to what he can expect rather than what's actually there. Sentries are now being focused down here by mutas, and the mutas just have to go ahead and turn back around. And once again, look how long the walk distance is here for WhiteRa. These mutas can just skirt right back and forth. These 2 Stalkers are dying for free, no doubt. They're just going to try to rally up with the rest of their Stalkers. This is good army control. But these mutas are going to keep WhiteRa in his base for a long time, allow Rhett to get this 4th saturated really quickly. Blink is now on the way, which is kind of being forced into, and WhiteRa can always switch out of this if he feels like he needs to. He's still going to continue to produce Mutalists, though. Let's take a look at the workers lost right now. 14 workers killed for Red. So he should be holding a fairly healthy economy lead. 82 to 62 workers right now, so plus 20 on the favor of Red. More probes going down here once again. You can see this harassment is just brutal on this map in particular. But these Stalkers are all actually just going to die to these mutas. As we can see, +1 attack is now done for them. So +1 attack on mutas versus +1 attack for Stalkers. And mutas are actually going to win really easily. So they kill all those Stalkers. WhiteRa has absolutely nothing back in his base to defend. He has 4 sentries. So it looks like WhiteRa is actually just going to straight up lose this game right away. Mutas are just crippling him really, really badly. He just goes ahead and says good game and leaves. So this map in particular, I don't really like it all that much because of this base structure setup. Drops here are brutal, and if you want to see a perfect example of that, you can see a game between Alicia and Select from the GSL. And Alicia just kept engaging Select down here, and Select has like 6 dropships, so he just loads everything up in the dropships, walks right up here, drops everything out, kills like everything in Alicia's base. And Alicia has to be like, oh no, I have to catch up to all this, and he has to go all the way around. By the time he gets there, Select can just lift up and leave. So this is a really hard map to deal with harassment on. So good build there out of Red to just take it to WhiteRa and abuse the advantages that he has. And WhiteRa just kind of stuck, not really having anything to do. Eventually, if this map keeps getting circulated, we're going to have to start seeing them set up cannons and stuff like that, like they set up turrets in Terran versus Zerg. So you'll probably see like cannons being placed right here, sort of at random, but you almost have to against harassments like that, just to prevent them from flying over this area that's so disadvantageous for you. So we'll see what happens as time goes on, but let's just stop blabbering, go into game 2 of this setup, and we'll see exactly who's able to take this series. Is Red going to be able to take a quick 2-0, or is WhiteRa going to even it up? Join us in just a moment as we find that out for ourselves, and see you then, and thanks for watching.